Hey, YouTube, what's up? Anyway, Chapter 6 of the Weber's Guide to Pipes and Pipe Smoking. This chapter is the art and science of smoking. Feel free to put on your headphones and listen up if you'd like, and please comment. I do have this on my playlist, and you can listen to it all the way from the foreword of the book. The art and science of smoking. Smoking a pipe is such a common custom today that we tend to forget it is both an art and a science developed over 4 centuries only. Hold on. Start over. Smoking a pipe is such a common custom today that we tend to forget it is both an art and a science developed over 4 centuries. It is an art that a pipe is smoked for pleasure and pleasure only. It is a science in that the pipe bowl is a small furnace which, like any other furnace, must be properly fueled, fired, and cleaned in order to operate at its best. Unless these techniques are mastered, the smoker will find little joy in the use of his pipe. Smoking in its earliest days was recognized as an art, and no man was considered a gentleman until he could smoke properly. Tutors and professors of smoking appeared on the scene who, for a price, would teach the novice the fundamentals and mysteries of the art. The complete course began with the history of smoking and included the technique of inhaling through the nose. The course ended when the student had mastered the skill of blowing smoke rings in the air. The gentlemen of fashion smoked at all times and at all places, in the theater as well as on the street. He carried it in his pocket He carried in his pockets a complete smoking kit. A tobacco box, a pair of tongs for lighting, and his pipe with the burning coal, and a tobacco stopper for pressing the fired leaves firmly into the pipe bowl, all elaborately wrought of expensive materials. His pipe, however, was the same clay pipe smoked by common laborers and poor men in general. Perhaps the most interesting time for the avid pipe smoker came during the Victorian period. The 19th century gentleman would have to retire to a special smoking room, don a smoking cap and jacket to protect his hair and clothes from the vile odor of tobacco, and puff away until interrupted by the ladies of the house. If there was no smoking room, he would have to smoke secretly by his bedroom fireplace, surreptitiously blowing the smoke up the chimney so that no offensive odor would remain. Fortunately, the modern smoker can enjoy a pipe full either in private or in public. Moreover, he'll always have a pleasant smoke if he is familiar with the art and science of smoking, breaking in and filling, lighting his pipe, and cleaning the pipe. Many a man who is attracted to pipe smoking gives up the practice after a few days because he finds little pleasure in his pipe. He finds that his tongue feels burned and the bitter tasting that the bowl becomes. too hot or to hold, or that the pipe will not stay lit. As a result, the would-be pipe smoker gives up in disgust, and the fraternity of pipe smokers has lost a friend. The fledgling smoker simply failed to realize that the pipe must be broken in and smoked properly before it will yield an enjoyable smoke. To derive maximum pleasure and satisfaction from a pipe, the new smoker should follow a few important but simple steps. Number 1. The first step in breaking in a new pipe is to moisten the inside of the bowl with a little water applied with the finger. This will permit the carbon formed by the burning of the tobacco to cling to the walls of the briar and act as an insulation against the heat of the first light up. If the inside of the bowl has been pre-charred or caked by the pipe maker, however, this step should be eliminated. Number 2. Next, fill the bowl about 1/2 full of good tobacco. Fill the pipe gradually, tamping down each layer of tobacco firmly with the finger. Number 3. Now light the pipe evenly all around. Igniting the tobacco will cause it to rise up slightly in the bowl. Tamp down the tobacco with a metal tamper and relight evenly once again. If the bowl is packed correctly, you will have no trouble in keeping the tobacco lit. Number 4. It is extremely important to smoke the first few bowlfuls slowly. Indeed, it is always best to puff patiently away, no matter how well your pipe is broken in. Form proper habits of filling and smoking your pipe from the moment you purchase it. Smoke the pipe slowly until the tobacco is burned down to the very bottom of the bowl. This not only prevents overheating, but also forms an even protective cake on the walls of the bowl. After smoking a few pipefuls, gently remove the ash or dottle from the bottom of the bowl with the pipe's smoker's spoon. Be careful not to damage the thin, newly formed cake. Now fill the bowl about 3/4 full and smoke it. Gradually increase the amount of tobacco until you have filled the bowl to the top. You'll find that your pipe will have gained and treasured possession a regular even cake from the bottom to the top of the bowl. The cake is an accumulation of porous carbon, which fulfills two important functions. The carbon acts as a protective coating that helps prevent burnout and is largely responsible for the sweetness of the smoke. It also blends into the smoke and flavor of genuine briar. This combined effect gives you the pipe a mellow flavor which pipe smokers always strive to achieve. The carbon cake should be developed slowly and evenly and should form a uniformly thick lining on the pipe bowl. If your pipe is properly filled but still goes out occasionally while being smoked, it may be because you've packed the tobacco too lightly. Once the protective cake is formed, don't remove it. However, after much smoking, even a well broken in pipe can develop an uneven cake. Too thick a cake may also become a menace to the life of your pipe. It can cause the pipe bowl to crack because the carbon cake expands and contracts at a different rate than the briar. The different rate of expansion can create a tremendous pressure on the briar, especially if the pipe has a thick cake and is smoked rapidly, generating a great deal of heat. The excess carbon must be removed in a simple but important operation called reaming. The ideal pipe reamer is one which fits the sides and bottom of your pipe bowl perfectly Any good pipe shop will have a number of reamers that do the job efficiently and adjustable to fit any bowl. The cake in the bowl should be reamed to the proper thickness, about 1/16 of an inch, or the thickness of the penny. Use the reamer sparingly so that even thickness and cake remains along the inner surface of the bowl. The cutting edges of the reamer should be razor sharp. A dull reamer may force the smoker to chip and gouge the somewhat brittle cake. If the cake is inadvertently chipped down to the bowl wall, then the entire cake will have to be removed and a new cake slowly built up through smoking. To guard against this, avoid using knives and razor blades. Use an instrument specially designed for the job, a sharp, close-fitting pipe reamer. If a knife is used, go easy and be sure the job is smooth. After smoking a new pipe for the first time, allow the ashes to remain in the bowl until cold, so not to disturb the newly formed carbon cake. When the pipe has been well broken in, remove the ashes and dottle. In parentheses, the unsmoked tobacco at the bottom of the bowl. That's what dottle is. Immediately after each smoking. Some manufacturers coat the inside of the bowl with the prepared carbon cake mixture. This may or may not do the job. The vital ingredient in the cake mixture is usually sugar, which can contain a great deal of carbon in the chemical structure. As the sugar burns, only the carbon remains, and the carbon absorbs the bitter green taste of tobacco bite, similar to the method in the one of breaking in pipes with honey, which, consisting largely of sugar, has the same effect as sugar. Here's a picture they got there, this one, and it says complete burn through resulting from the pipe's owner having held the pipe in the downward position. This forced heat from the burning tobacco to concentrate on the particular part of the bowl. So by holding the bowl a certain way, it directs the heat to this inside. By holding it down, it puts the heat toward the back by the shank, which has caused burnout. This here, it has a bunch of pictures. You can pause this and then read it. And there's a lot of good info in these. So be sure to pause this and then read the descriptions that it says. Okay. However, the newcomer may well prefer to break in his pipe himself, slowly, so to give his pipe a chance to develop natural caking lining in the pipe bowl. He will then enjoy the satisfaction of a mellow smoke properly fitted through the cake lining and subtle blending with the flavor of the briar. To break in your new pipe to ensure a pleasant smoke, just proceed as outlined. 1. Moisten the bowl inside. 2. Fill the bowl with 1/2 full with good tobacco evenly packed to the bottom of the bowl to the top. Light the tobacco evenly with a wooden match. Tamp down the burning tobacco and relight evenly again. Number 4. Smoke the pipe slowly so you can create an even cake. Smoke the pipe down to the bottom of the bowl, taking long draws and removing the pipe from your mouth between puffs. Number 5. Allow the pipe to cool and remove the ashes by slapping the bowl on the palm of your hand. The bowl or bit may break if knocked against a hard object, such as metal or glass ashtray. Make sure the inside of the new pipe is clean and smooth. Any irregularity or rough spot, fuzz on the inner surface of the bowl could be the start of a charge spot. Once charring begins, it usually continues until the pipe burns out and consequently becomes worthless. Why do pipes burn out? The answer is simple: heat. A briar pipe is not made of metal or asbestos. It's nothing more nor less than a wooden bowl, and it will burn or char if it gets hot enough. To keep the pipe from burning out, care must be taken to prevent intense heat from reaching the bowl. This can be done by smoking slowly, and thus of keeping the temperature of the tobacco down. Slow smoking will also allow a cake to form, which will protect the walls of the bowl from the excessive heat. So basically, smoke your pipe slow and keep the temperatures down. It builds cake and protects your bowl from burning out. Well-made pipes are usually guaranteed against defects in manufacturers and burnouts, which may result from such defects. Good briarwood absorbs very little moisture during any one smoke because the pores in the wood are very light. Normally, after a few smokes, a pipe should be put away for a few days to allow the moisture to evaporate. If a new pipe is smoked too frequently, the moisture will have no chance to evaporate and will accumulate in the bottom of the bowl where the pipe is cooler. This yields a soggy pipe, sometimes called a pipe with a wet heel. The neophyte pipe smoker should also practice smoking dry. This means that he should keep his saliva away from the bit. Any wet saliva entering the stem will increase the chancing of having a foul-smelling pipe with a bitter taste. Excess moisture in the stem will also cause gurgling sound every time you draw your pipe. You can reduce the amount of saliva entering the pipe and maintain a dry bit by not holding the bit too far inside your mouth. Ordinarily, placing an object such as the bit of the pipe in the mouth will start a natural flow of saliva. If you swallow the excess saliva instead of spitting it in the stem, the saliva flow will gradually decrease. This may take a little practice, but will eliminate the annoyance source of moisture. Filling the pipe. A man should fill his pipe the way an experienced woodsman builds a fire. Otherwise, he is inviting trouble. In the form of a burned out or burned through pipe bowl, before you even look into the direction of the tobacco jar, blow through the mouthpiece to make sure that your stem is clear. Then glance into the bowl to make sure that all the ashes and stale tobacco from your last smoke have been knocked out. The simplest way to fill your pipe is to thrust it into the tobacco pouch and tamp in the tobacco with your fingers. The tobacco should be loose at the bottom of the bowl and firmly packed at the top. There's an old rule about filling pipes which expresses this principle very well. Fill your pipe first with the child's hand, then a woman's, and finally a man's. After each pinch, insert your finger into the bowl and feel that the packing is the correct firmness. When the bowl is full to the rim, use your thumb to press down and even out the surface tobacco. A final press with the index finger will ensure the proper packing so that your pipe will draw and smoke properly. An evenly packed and distributed surface will make it much easier to light the pipe. If the pipe is packed too loosely, you will have to draw on it continuously to keep it lit. If the pipe is too tightly packed, it may become too hot. If it is unevenly packed, the bowl will heat unevenly and may scorch the bowl or cause it to crack. Check the draw of your pipe before lighting it. If it draws too freely, press another pinch of tobacco. If it draws too difficult, The pipe must be emptied and refilled. It may also be that the shred of tobacco is blocking the opening of the bowl into the stem. This is rarely the case with coarsely cut tobacco, but with the finer cuts, some care must be taken in placing the first pinch. Combustion in the pipe can be compared to that of a coal stove or furnace. The more draft, the hotter the fire. Therefore, it becomes essential to smoke slowly. The more rapid the puffing, the more quickly the tobacco will burn and the hotter the smoke. Pause between each puff, puff gently, and you will enjoy a cooler smoke. Lighting up. There is a simpler way for two strangers to strike up a conversation than for one to ask the other for a match. A match is used every matter of factly by most of us. We strike it, light our pipe, blow it out, and discard it. But matches have not always been readily available. The early colonists in America had but two methods of lighting a fire. One, the flint and steel, and the other, rubbing fire sticks together. Slow but reliable way. When the early settler John Brecton visited in 1605 with the now Rhode Island, he wrote, "They strike fire in this manner. Every man carrieth about them a purse of sewed leather, a mineral stone, copper, and with a flat emerick stone, which is a flint, tied fast to the end of a little stick. Gently he striketh upon the mineral stone, and within the stroke of two the spark falleth upon the piece of touchwood, and with the least spark the maketh fire presently." More than 2 centuries later, Chris Dickens, in describing the same slow process, wrote, "On a damp day, with luck, one might get a light in half an hour." Many types of matches were invented in the 19th century to supply the world's dissatisfied with the stubbornness of tinderbox. One of the useful types is a drunkard's match, created by Diamond Match Company in 1882. The splint of the match was treated so that it would not burn beyond the midpoint. In this way, the tipsy smoker could avoid burning his fingers. One of the earliest matches, the Lucifer match, was 3 inches long, tipped with antimony sulfide gum and starch. Lucifer matches were struck by being drawn through a pleat of sandpaper and ignited with a series of small explosions in the shower of sparks. These matches smelled so that the manufacturer printed this warning on the boxes: "If possible, avoid inhaling. The gas escapes from the combustion with the black composition." This warning still applies today to the modern pipe smoker. Let the tip of the match burn off before touching the flame to the tobacco in your pipe. Otherwise, you may inhale a mouthful of choking sulfur and phosphorus fumes that ruin your smoke. Always use matches when lighting your pipe, preferably long wooden kitchen matches, not paper matches. Several good mechanical lighters are on the market today. They provide a steady, sizable flame and lights the tobacco evenly. Of course, if you happen to be sitting near a warm hearth with the fire on the grate, simply pick up the glowing coal to light your pipe. This is probably the most satisfying way of lighting up. Leave the ember on the surface of the tobacco until the pipe is properly lit. If you prefer, keep the ember in your bowl until the pipe is smoked out. It will add to its own flavor to the tobacco. When lighting a pipe, keep the bowl upright. Place the heat of the match on the tobacco and draw strongly. The flow of the air will draw the flame downward into the bowl and ignite the tobacco. Don't turn the pipe on its side or place it upside down. This result will only be will only in unevenly lit tobacco and burnt briar. By drawing the flame into the bowl, you can see exactly what areas need lighting. Circle the lighted match over the tobacco in the bowl so that the entire surface becomes aglow. When the tobacco will burn evenly and smoothly down the bowl as your smoke progresses. How does the pipe burn tobacco? When the pipe is lit, the heat of the flame causes organic compounds of the tobacco to react with the oxygen in the air. The result of this reaction is primarily water vapor, carbon dioxide, and carbon residue. But the pipe bowl is not a perfect combustion chamber, and not all of the tobacco becomes reduced to those three substances. As the heat flows through the bowl, it produces a number of other effects. First, the heat dries out the tobacco directly below the burning zone. Second, the heat vaporizes oils out of the tobacco in the burning zone. Third, the non-volatile carbonaceous material is burned to ash. When the pipe is lit, some moisture, oil vapor, and other smoke particles from the hot zone condense on the surface, and the cooler tobacco below on the cooler bowl and in the stem as the hot zone burns on down inside the bowl. Part of this condensed material is re-vaporized and part is burned off. Some collects at the very bottom of the bowl and forms dottle. This should be removed after each smoke so that the pipe can dry out thoroughly. This will ensure the sweetness of your next smoke. Several factors make a difference between a cool and a hot smoke. The faster you smoke, the hotter the pipe and its contents become. It must be repeated, makes it obligatory to smoke slowly. The second factor is the importance of having a dry pipe. A pipe should rest between smokes and allow the circulation of air to carry off any moisture collected at the bottom of the bowl. Cleaning the pipe. A pipe smoker who pays strict attention to pays special attention to the cleaning of his pipe will get more enjoyable smoke every time. This ritual is one of many pleasant activities that goes with pipe smoking, but should be carried out regularly and carefully. Be very cautious when removing the stem from the bowl for the cleaning. In a new pipe, the fit is often tight and the stem or the wood will crack if care is not taken. Always remove the stem by twisting it, never by pulling. Don't grasp the stem by its tip. Instead, get a firm grip near the point where the stem enters the shank of the bowl. Never remove the stem while the pipe is still warm. In general, the pipe should be cleaned after every smoke by running a pipe cleaner through the stem and removing any ash or tobacco residue from the bowl. It should then be placed in a pipe rack with the stem pointing up and the bowl down. This will allow air to circulate through both the stem and the bowl. After several smokes, a more thorough cleaning job is in order. Remove the stem, as previously described, run the pipe cleaner through it. Now double up another pipe cleaner and swab out the shank boring. If the pipe has a metal filter, wipe it off, wipe the moisture off with a piece of tissue paper. Be lavish in this use of pipe cleaners. It pays dividends in sweetener cleaner smoking. When the carbon cake has become thicker than 1/16 of an inch, it should be trimmed down by the use of a special reamer found in any good pipe shop, and whose use was detailed earlier in the chapter If the cake is allowed to become too thick, the difference in rate of expansion between the briar and the cake could result in a cracked bowl. By observing the techniques described in this chapter, you may be sure that pipe smoking will be a happy, rewarding experience. That this is, in fact, the purpose of pipe smoking was recognized by some of the earliest pipe smokers. African natives living along Congo River, they tell tales about the first smoker in their tribe. As the story goes, this imaginative fellow returned from a journey, bringing back with him the secrets of pipe smoking. He introduced his fellow tribesmen to the virtues of the habit by describing its mellowing effect on his personality. He said that during his travels he had taken offense at someone and harbored thoughts of murder, but first he sat down and smoked a pipe of tobacco. He then reacted that the thrashing would be more suitable vengeance than killing. After smoking a second pipe, he concluded that scolding would be more proper than physical punishment. Finishing the third pipe, he found it in his heart to forgive the man and forget the whole incident. And so it should be with all pipe smokers. Whew! That's the end of chapter 6. Next one is chapter 7, and chapter 7 is about how briar pipes are made. Alrighty, YouTube. Later.